What's happening, my friends? Welcome to this episode of Car Seats and Coffee. I'm your host, Thomas McMinn. And in this episode, I got my friend Corey jumping on with me. Let's do this. Corey, thank you so much for jumping on, dude. We've been jamming back and forth, talking about this for a while. I'm so excited that you're actually on the episode. And, in order to start this off, dude, I love just learning more about you. So tell everybody just like what makes Corey tick, dude. Who's Corey? What's he do?
That's a really great question. So uh, yeah, what I do for a living is I'm in the financial services world. My focus is on tax minimization.
Hmm.
So I help families keep more of what they make and save on tax, have higher investments, and focus. Be able to focus later on in life on their families and leaving a legacy and creating something that's important to them to leave to their kids and their families. What I'm about, my core values really are integrity, authenticity, like being myself. I value happiness. I value love. I value, family and giving back. Those are the main things that I'd say make me up. I can be a pretty intense person when I'm focused on something. And, I always like to improve myself and get better. And I'm proud of I'm proud of my work ethic and my ability to in life to want to get better and help other people get better as well. So that's what I'd say makes me up.
Dude, I first and foremost, I love those core values, and I want to hit on that just for a second.
Sure.
Is this something that you've always those core values have they always been there, or is this something like at what part of your life? Because this is about men like growing and developing. Also, like that's what I mean. Like, did you have those values as a kid, or at like what point in your life do you say, you know what, these are my values and I'm sticking to it?
Yeah. So what happened, Thomas, is like no, I didn't. I had these, but I wasn't always aware of them. So I had to go out and find out what my values were, what was important to me. So much of life is just about reacting to others and stuff like that. And there's nothing down that road, as you know. Life is about living to your truth, your happiness, your authenticity. So I had to find these things out, and I asked myself some valuable questions, like who do you admire in life? Why is it that you admire them? What are things about them? Finding out when do I like myself best? When do I not like myself?
Yeah.
Some really tough questions to getting to some true answers, and asking myself those tough questions. And in a place of where I had no direction, I came up with these answers. And in life, like we create our own direction. I feel like we find out who we are, and then we create where we want to go from that. And that helped me a lot. So I'm always redefining, like, is this still me? Is this still in alignment with me? And it's funny when I'm out of alignment with my core values, like I feel it. So it's like, I feel off, and then I'll ask myself, okay, why do I feel off? Why do I feel like I'm not, accomplishing what I need to, or feel it's just a certain feeling, really. So that's how I establish them.
And then so you say that you ask yourself that question, and a lot of people, I believe, want to be in that position. And I think this is so valuable for men and dads because there's a lot of times where we feel like maybe we're failing as dads or we're failing in some other aspects of our life that are very critical towards creating that foundation for your family. So you say that, you ask yourself the questions, and maybe you identify it. And then do you have any like rituals or anything that like help you get back to that? Or is it just you just worked at it so long you're like, it's this part of my brain's talking nonsense, got to shut it down and start going back to this?
Yeah, it's a lot of that. I surround myself with great people. I have right now three coaches, actually four. One is a golf coach, but I have three coaches for personal and business. And I surround myself with great people. But a lot of it too is, as you said, rituals. Like one thing I've implemented in the last little while is one aspect is, what am I grateful for? What am I grateful that I have? So much of life we focus on what we don't have, And that in turn just keeps more, I'm a huge believer in manifesting things. So that keeps perpetuating more of what you don't have. People tend to focus on the 2 or 3 things that they don't have rather than the thousands upon thousands of things that they do have. Like we've got 2 ears, we've got, we've got a nose, we can breathe, we can walk, we can hear, we have shelter, we have food. It just goes on and on and on. So that's one aspect. Another ritual I have is I can be very hard on myself because I'm very results driven. And so I've got to focus on what I love about myself. What are things that I really like about myself? And so those are 2 rituals that I put in place. And when I set my goals each day, I check and see if they're in alignment with what my core values are. So I'm always going back to see, okay, does this match this? In my industry, it's really easy to get focused on the financial aspect of it. It can be lucrative, but the real value for me is in providing value and working with great people. So at this stage in my career, my focus is just on working and helping great people. And then the financial aspect is the end result of that. So it's in being true to myself again, being true to me.
Dude, and that is, man, what a great message for anyone who's listening right now, because, we actually connected through Tim Grover's class. We were doing that down and dirty workshop, and one of his big things is kind of that whole faking it thing. And that plays back into that like truth, and developing the truth for who you are as an individual is, man, such a lost concept right now, brother. And I think because of so much technology, which is an unbelievable thing if you know how to use it as a tool, but it can be such a crutch or a downer too, is if you're trying to find out who you are and you're doing that through watching other people live their life, right? So like getting those blinders on and really saying what's important to me, getting those values right, working on it daily, grinding out, having coaches and mentors, man, there's so much power in that. And like you said, the gratitude play, that one, that one's a beast, dude. When you really stop, like I did that for 40 days in this challenge thing that I set up. And every morning wrote down 3 things I was grateful for every morning. And it was like, allowed me to almost be a little more patient with my kids, because those moments when they were like screaming and my boys are going wild out and running around and doing this thing, and I'm like, oh, my house is a mess and all this shit's going on. And then it's like, it doesn't matter, dude. Like, this is the little stuff. And these boys watching them, like, get on the floor and play with them. You can clean the house whenever, or so, whatever you need to do. But it's like, that gratitude is such a win, dude. I love that you shared that. Now with that, let's transition a little bit. Tell me a little bit about your family, like how many kids you have and all of that.
Yeah. So my kids are a huge part of my life. I'd say that that's my number one most important um, uh, thing for me is being a great dad. I've got twin daughters that are 10 years old, named Logan and Marley. They're identical twins. And I've got a son, 4. His name is Jordan. So currently I'm separated from my wife, and but we have a fantastic relationship. We're co-parenting our kids, and it's just something that we decided together. And my focus really is on being the best dad I can be to them, and on being the best partner I can be to her. Because it's just, it's not like she's out of my life now. I can't move on. It's my 3 kids need a great mom, and they need a great dad, and I need a great partner, and so does she. So we bury our egos, and everything is focused solely on our kids. It has nothing to do with her or I. I'm there to empower her and to support her. She's there to empower me and support me. And, I find it interesting because everyone, is like, oh, like, how are you doing this? You must be so like in despair or down or upset, or, I'm like, no, like actually, of course, it's not an easy road, but, I'm so much more involved. I'm so much of a better partner. I'm so much more empowered, and so is she. And it really works well for us.
No, dude, first and foremost, hats off to you for that. because we see it. We see it in society all the time when, especially you have kids and that a divorce happens, just with that split and the effect it has on not only the couple that are in that situation, but the kids as well. And for you two to be like, yeah, we're checking our egos, which is just a tough thing in general to do, but to do it in a situation like that, knowing that the best thing is making sure your kids are provided for and dealing with that, like hats off to you for that, my friend. Um, when you say though that you're focused now on being more involved, what does that mean? Was like, do you feel like before all this went down, you weren't as involved with your kids, or what do you feel about that?
Yeah, I definitely do to a certain degree. I love my kids very much, always. It's just I think my focus was really on taking care of the family from a financial aspect, and I thought that was what was going to make them happy. But I realized, you know, kids need time, they need involvement, they need they can sense when you're not involved and you're not there. And for me, the most important thing I want my kids to see that like dad gave us everything. Dad gave us time. Dad gave us life lessons. Dad gave us love. Dad gave us energy. Things that money can't buy. And it's extremely important because what happens is even if you give your kids everything from a financial aspect, they'll grow up one day and they'll be like, Dad wasn't there. And I think about what feeling or what do I want my kids to feel like as a result of me being their dad. And it's like what lessons I want them to learn, how I want them to get through life. I feel like my job is really as a dad is to help them grow up, deal with life's lessons, deal with the changes that occur in life, and give them coping skills to be as successful as they possibly can be. So that's my mindset at this point.
I think your mindset's right on, brother. So,
Thank you, man.
uh,
Look,
but
it took work. It took work. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of ups and downs. Like people will see this and see success, and they don't realize how much behind the scenes work it takes to be successful. Like you mentioned Tim Grover. I've been fortunate enough to work with Tim, and he says the road to paradise starts in hell. And I don't disagree with that. It took a lot of soul searching. It took a lot of my own life lessons to get to this point, and I'm just happy and fortunate to be on the other side of those, and I'll still go through those. We're always learning, we're always growing, and I don't have all the answers, and I don't have everything together as a dad, and I'm learning as I go along. And your podcast has been a fantastic resource for me, and other dads, and being authentic and being able to discuss these types of issues and the things we deal with our kids, with yourself and other dads. This is key. But getting want to acknowledge you for getting that conversation out there and making yourself and other dads a safe place to go, so we can talk about how we all become better. Because on your own you can do great, but with lots of other people you can do incredible, right? Like
oh, man.
just using each other as a resource.
Absolutely. It's funny, sometimes you get caught up in doing the stuff that, like you were saying, you're working, you're grinding, you're growing, and then all of a sudden, like one day, a little bit of traction starts happening, and everybody thinks that you're so lucky, and just this stuff happened overnight. It's like, man, you don't know. Like, I mean, I joke like when I started it, calling it car seats and coffee, because people ask me all the time why car seats and coffee. I was like, man, because I was sitting there and just got out of grad school, thought like life was my oyster. I was climbing the corporate ladder at a job, and I had Lear jets on my mind and fancy cars and shit. Right? And then I like looked in my back seat, and I had a Starbucks in my hand, and I have two car seats in my back seat. I'm like, holy shit, like life took a 180 on like where I thought it was going to where it's going now. But for some reason, I'm more excited about where it's going now. And dude, I think we forget that sometimes. Like, the houses and the cars. I'm not saying any of this isn't nice. I think that everybody should strive to have their own version of even financial success, right? Because you can do a lot of good for many other causes too, and you have money. But it's like, it's those little moments when you, like yourself, that you see, wow, me going through what I've gone through from this point of view of, yeah, I was providing financially for them, and I was doing a great job, and I had the success there. But man, I wasn't really seeing my full potential as not only just an individual, but also as a dad. And now starting to transition and go through that, I can just see it and hear it in your voice, man, that that gratitude for where you're going is making you so much more happy, which is like the win, right? At the end.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can have financial success. It doesn't mean you're going to be happy. Like, you know what? You can have results too. You can have all kinds of great results.
Mm,
That doesn't mean you're going to be happy either. So that it's, and money is great. I've been on both sides, and fortunately, I've built a successful business. But there's things that mean a lot more than money sometimes.
mm.
And like if you're saying, hey, I got all my problems. I'd rather have 50 million and all these problems and not have the 50 million.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it's going to solve it can solve a lot of problems, but it
Mm,
can never solve problems that you have within yourself.
right.
You have to fix those problems for yourself. You have to deal with those. Only you can fix those. Only we can fix our own problems that we have inside.
Oh, dude, absolutely. I think it was on one of our sessions. I asked the question that to Tim. I said, "Look, I have my traditional businesses. I have a business on the side, and I work a traditional job also, and it's created a very very comfortable life for me. But it was like, where do you transition from having this like comfortable life that provides you a nice solid income and everything's comfortable to doing the things that you're passionate about, which is growing a community, doing the podcast, connecting with dads, doing all this that doesn't drive any revenue for me. It actually like takes a lot out right now, right?" And he referred back to that like whole concept of balance as a human beings. And I think this relates to with dads. We feel like we win if we have balance, but I don't think there is this true like balance in the sense of what we believe it is. I think balance is like, how are you putting your energy, and is that energy, is that feeding you or is that not feeding you? Because look, you can push it all out there, brother, but if it's not feeding you back, it's like it's a bunch of wasted energy at a certain point, because it's not time, it's a commodity. I mean, time is the commodity, but it's like that positive time, those things within that time that feed you as a human being, right?
Absolutely. Energy is a huge thing. And I pay a lot of attention to that.
Mm.
And, my kids give me a tremendous amount of energy. You'd think I'd be, and don't get me wrong, there's certain days where I'm exhausted, but most of the time it's positive energy. And, you really have to be cognizant of who you're around, and what your energy is like really. And balance it's going to be different for everyone, and it's going to change a lot. Like sometimes, health may be, a lot of your balance and time is taken with health. And then once you're really healthy, like you don't have to spend as much time doing that. So, or like building a business at the beginning, a lot of time is spent doing that. And once your business is built, it becomes not that you necessarily may spend less time, but there's less energy involved because you already have the skill set and success to do something that you might have had to put hours of preparation in prior to. So that changes a lot too.
Yeah, I love that. Can we jam really quick? I want to talk about this because earlier you had said like the things like spending the time with the kids, creating the memories with the kids, and you did hit that again. And sorry for keep bringing it back, but this energy thing is really important to me, and I believe it's like an important lesson for dads to hear. When you say creating that energy for your kids, like what does that look like?
Well, doing the things that you enjoy doing also, because a lot of us get caught up in, okay, I gotta be everything to my kid. I notice a lot of dads and I fell into this trap where it was like, oh, I got to make sure I have enough money, I have enough finances, like everything's okay for my kids. And we can get caught up in that trap and stop caring for ourselves. But it's like what we put into ourselves, like, comes back out to them. So it's like there's a balance in creating that as well. So, for instance, I enjoy on a Sunday afternoon sitting back and watching a couple of NFL games. That gives me a lot of energy. I enjoy going out on the golf course, playing golf. That gives me a lot of energy. So if I can do the things that make me who I am, then I can give back and have lots of energy for them. You know, I like competing. And so I make a lot of my days about competition, like in my business, try to be the best that I can be, work with the very best people in their industries. I deal with just the best of the best. That's my focus. And I'm always trying to sharpen my saw to be the best that I can be so that I can be the best for them. And that's what a lot of my time is spent doing. And when I'm competing, that energizes me. I really love to compete. It's sort of when I sit back a little bit and I stop competing and I say, hey, I need some time off or this or that. I like time off, and I take a lot of time off. And when I have time off, I focus on my time off, but I can't take too much time off. Like I'm not the kind of guy that could do like a 2-3 week vacation. And I'll never be the kind of guy that retires and, you know, golfs every day. I like to golf every day, but I like it because I like competing. And then I go to work and focus on that.
Oh, dude.
Compete in the, you know, in my industry.
I think that's so important. I think that's a good lesson too, because especially in today's day, I mean, some people are not going to like to hear this, but I think like that word competition's kind of getting a bad rap these days. And it's like, look, it's important for individuals to compete. It builds character. It's okay to lose every once in a while. That builds character. It gets you more hungry, right? And I think this is an important lesson to teach our kids is it's okay to go out there and compete. Like that's a good thing. You need to check yourself against others and your skill sets. And the things that make you upset when you lose, it's time to go back and start working a little harder because those are maybe the things you're more passionate about inside, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, when I look at golf, you know, I've evolved in that sport a lot. And, you know, I was a terrible sport in golf. I couldn't stand losing. And no, I'm just going to be like really authentic and honest. I couldn't stand losing. And, you know, some people didn't even want to play golf with me because I got to the point where I just could not stand losing. But I had to go to work on myself to see that I was the one that was defeating myself. So if you learn a lesson and you get better and somebody else is better than you that day and you competed hard, is that losing?
I don't think it's losing.
Yeah, you're now set up to be better than you were before. Someone else played great. You played great too. You didn't get in your own way. You competed hard. And you're now more powerful, you know, have more access to success than you did before. So that's not losing.
And, you know, like, and that little bitter taste of losing too, I think like provides.
Yeah, it fuels you.
Man. And that's not negative energy. People think that's negative energy. It doesn't have to be. That can
That's fuel.
Yeah.
That's fuel. One of my favorite athletes to watch is Tom Brady. And I just, you know, I saw him lose the other night in Houston. I can see the fuel inside of him. It's just burning and burning and burning inside of him. But this is what he uses to get better. And he's an interesting story too. You know, passed up by six times by every NFL team. You know, doesn't start at Michigan. He's on the bench for 3 years. He just kept getting better. He just kept taking that fuel and adding it to himself and getting better and better and better. So now he's just the greatest quarterback that's ever played football.
I love that, man. I love that. So I got a final question for you, man, because I want to, you know, like I always like to make sure that I respect everyone's time that's on the show. So the last question will be, what advice do you have for other dads out there that you know are probably going through a very similar situation like you went through or are currently going through that don't feel like they have an out?
Yeah, like your podcast is a great resource. Reach out, ask yourself some really important questions. Just start there. Just start with like, what lessons do I want to teach my kids? What lessons do I need to learn as a parent? How can I be the best parent for my kids? How do I show them that I love them? How do they receive love? Because different people receive love differently. And just focus on your core values. Focus on what's important to you to convey to your children. And just stay true to them. I think if you just start there, I think that's a great place to start. And the very last thing is trust your instincts. Trust who you are and trust your instincts. Stay true to yourself.
There it is. Listen, my friends, everyone listening, this episode of Corey, you're going to want to play this back again because this is not just about fatherhood. There's a lot of good life lessons in this. I appreciate your time, Corey. You're an unbelievable, stellar friend, dude. Just a guy, I've really, really enjoyed connecting with lately. And yeah, I can't wait for dads to hear this episode, brother.
Thank you, brother. Keep doing what you're doing.
Awesome.
I love it.